Well, good evening and welcome to All About the Valley. And tonight we're going to talk about the Winesville Retirement Society, which is a different situation than most places for retirement. A lot different from my research. Located in, if this building looks familiar, it may or may not, it's on Chestnut Street. It's kind of out of the way. If you don't head up High Street a little bit and then make that little jaunt, you wouldn't even know it's there. But it's one of the Whiten mansions. And Scott is here tonight. He's on the board of directors. Are you the president? Or?
This year I'm the president, yes, at least for a couple more weeks. We'll see what happens after that.
Because you rotate all the time, right?
Yes.
You also rotate your membership, don't you?
We rotate our membership on the board. People will come
Yes.
on the board of directors,
Yep,
usually for a 3-year term.
yep.
But if somebody moved away or stepped down, then sometimes we'll replace somebody for a 2 or 1 year term. So yes, there's typically, a handful of people. We like to have between 7 and 9 now. That's our current bylaws.
Yeah.
And usually people are for a 3-year term. Sometimes people will be a little longer.
You need an odd number.
It helps to have an odd number.
Yeah.
That way, if we tie,
You don't have a tie, right? I was talking about that earlier about the finance committee had a meeting last night. They only had 6 members there. I said, it's got to be 7 members. You have to. Every
That
board
helps.
has to have an odd number.
and well, what happens if you have 7 members, but somebody's not there, like one person's absent that night for whatever reason?
Right.
They're
How do
sick,
you-
and then you end up with an even number anyhow.
But anyway, yeah, so you rotate. How do you get on the board? You have to be invited?
So, yeah, there is a nomination process. So, the Whitensville Retirement Society, incorporated in Massachusetts, started a little over 50 years ago, and I'm sure we'll get to that in a little
Yeah.
bit. And they have meetings once a year, and in their bylaws, it says when the meeting is supposed to be. And anyone that's a member of the Whitensville Retirement Society Incorporated, a member of the society, comes to the annual meeting. And at that meeting, we talk about the business that happened in the past year that the board oversaw and conducted, as well as things that are planned for the upcoming year. And one of the things that happens at the annual meeting is nomination of people to be on the board. They have to be a member of society, meaning they're an upstanding person and they have donated a small amount of money to the society to help support it. And then there's a vote. And typically, we have this coming up about a week from now, as luck would have it. And we have 5 people nominated for 4 positions.
Oh, okay.
So they will come on, and 3 of the 4 will be 3-year terms, and 1 person is replacing somebody, so they'll have a 2-year term.
Now, you don't have to be a resident of the retirement
No.
to be in the society.
Correct. You could be in any town. We actually have members of the society that support Whitensville Retirement from Rhode Island, Colorado. There's a few that are pretty far away. Maybe
Oh,
they
wow,
have
that's
relatives here, or maybe they used to live here and moved away and they still support it. So they will send in an annual membership. They get a few things in the mail each year, and they can vote. They can attend by proxy and vote by proxy if they so wish, or they're more than welcome to come in person too. But for some of them, it's a long trip. But most of them are local. Most are Massachusetts, Blackstone Valley people, but it doesn't have to be.
Now, 50 years ago, you started out with the Fairlawn Church.
That is correct. That was a little bit before my time here, but
That's no longer a part of it, right?
it's not officially a part of it. It was started by 2 churches here in the Blackstone Valley, Northbridge. It was Fairlawn Christian Reformed Church and Pleasant Street
Pleasant
Christian
Street,
Reformed
yeah.
Church. Both are still there.
Right.
But it was actually members of the community and members of those 2 churches that got together 50-some years ago to talk about how should we care for our parents, our aging people in the churches and in the community. And so that's how it got started conceptually. That was actually in January 1975 when they first started talking about that. Very quickly they organized into society within a little over a month, and incorporated in
Yeah,
Massachusetts.
because you basically had nursing homes and that was it back then. You didn't have the assisted living.
If you did, I didn't know about it. I
No, I don't
was,
recall it.
yeah.
It might have been in some places, but I don't recall it around here.
Yeah, I think you had hospitals and nursing homes, and
Yeah.
pretty much that was it. Or people cared for folks in their own home.
Right, well, we had some housing for elderly. We had Colonial Drive was around then,
Yep.
and we had Lake Street. But, small apartments. But that was basically state-run through the Housing Authority. It was not independent. Yours is actually independent of the state. You're privately run.
We are privately run. We do. A lot of people have heard of the Whitensville Retirement Home. That seems to get a lot of the publicity, a lot of the talk, and
Yeah.
it's a fabulous place. I support it wholeheartedly. But in addition to the retirement home, we also have a set of apartments on the same
Yeah,
property.
that came few years after, right?
Correct. Just a few years after they put those up.
Yeah.
And we do have a few units there. There's 8 currently that have HUD housing people in them.
Oh,
so
okay.
we are connected with the state a little bit in that sense. But the property and the home and the other
Well, what you're set up for
units.
is affordable housing.
Affordable housing in different ways, right? So people that, I could probably go through this for folks, because I'm not sure if everyone knows it, but we call it independent living, and I suppose that what people mean by independent living, assisted living, things like that, sometimes it depends on the person you're talking to. They may
Right.
not use the official definitions, they might just use, common speak and whatnot, but we are officially independent living. We have no medical facilities, we have no doctors or nurses or anything like that
Right.
on our staff, although we're, very close to them in town if an emergency happens, thankfully. But we have none on staff. But we do have people that are on staff 24/7 that will help or assist in the event that an emergency or something happens. There's somebody that
But they
lives
don't
on
assist in daily living.
They don't assist in daily living. However, if you live at the mansion itself, at the Whitensville Retirement Home,
That's a little bit different.
right. So what they'll get then, we prepare and serve and clean up all meals. We do all laundry. We do all
Right.
cleaning. So people that live there don't really have, a lot of the difficulties of home ownership for folks older in life are gone. They don't have that. They don't have to cook. They don't have to clean. They don't have to do laundry. They don't have to do gardening. They don't have to plow their driveway or take care of their lawn or any of that. All that stuff is done for them.
Yes.
So it's independent living, but we do everything we
Even
can
if
to
you
make
live
it
in
easy
one of the
for them.
apartments.
No, this is just at the home
Oh, at the
itself.
home, okay.
Right.
If you're in the apartment, you have your own kitchen,
Yep.
you have a laundry service in
Right.
there.
Then you get to do those things on your own. The rent
Right.
is still very inexpensive, as much as we possibly can.
Right.
And there's parking for people at both sets of locations. The apartments are actually 2 Chestnut Street, and the home is actually 10 Chestnut Street on the same
okay.
road.
Yeah.
And it's one large property, and there's a nice field that connects
Oh, yeah,
them, and
you have
there's
beautiful property.
yeah, there's some gazebos, and people
Yeah.
are walking and gardening, and
Yeah.
doing all different outside stuff at
Yeah,
times.
we're getting into the time of year we can just walk around the grounds and just enjoy it.
It's very well maintained. We have a few people who do that, I'll say part-time. I think they really enjoy it. And
Yes.
we also have some of the residents there that either live at the home or at the apartments that enjoy flowers, gardening, what have you, and many of them keep their own little gardens here or there, or behind the apartments there are boxes out on the decks where people grow some of their own stuff.
Now, if you live in one of the apartments, can you go into the home to have your meals?
You can. You'd have to pay a small amount for your meals, but you could do
Yeah,
that.
but, if you're all by yourself,
You could.
preparing a meal for yourself sometimes can be a pain in the neck.
Yep.
So it'd be easier just to go and pay a small amount and
They could
and
do that.
You don't have to do the dishes.
Correct. And I think that's one of the things people at home really like. The rent is a little higher because so much is done for them, including like buying all the food and preparing
Right.
it and all. But yeah, they don't have to deal with any of that. The people at the apartments and the home do some common activities together. We have activities like there's exercises just about every day. They watch movies. There's puzzles. There's walking. There's community events. Sometimes people come and do music, and people at the apartments will come over. They're invited and more than welcome to participate in any of those
Right,
things.
now, you have both types of, you have apartments with 2 bedrooms, and you have
We do.
apartments with single bedroom.
We do. Most of the apartments are single bedroom, but we have a
Yep.
few that are double bedroom, and I think we have one studio apartment.
Yeah, in some cases, some husband and wife have to have separate rooms because of illness or,
Yeah. So we're talking about the apartments, right? So most of the apartments single bedroom, but a few of them are 2 bedrooms.
Right.
But at the retirement home itself, we have a few larger rooms that married couples can be in. And one right now, we have a married couple, and they were they felt like they could no longer maintain their home, or at least they didn't
Yeah.
want to, and so they moved to the retirement home last year, and they're still together, and they're in the same room, and I think it's been a fabulous experience for them. So
Yeah.
there are, I want to say there's 3 rooms that are large enough in the home, and then there's one set of adjoining rooms that we modified a couple years ago for a couple, for a married couple also, at that time. And so, yeah, we've been able to accommodate a
yeah,
number
we're
of different
talking
ways.
about this house right here. You
That's
actually
right.
added on to the back of it, didn't you?
We did. Again, before my time, but
Right.
but shortly after it was purchased in 1975, a few years later, they added on to that so that they could add a number more rooms. I want to say that, and there's a few, on the Mason House now, there are a few apartments there of people that work. Like there's one person that has a very nice apartment on the 2nd floor, and that is an overnight coverage person who's there in the event of an emergency
Uh-huh.
every night and alternate weekends. And then there's another person that lives in a small apartment up on the 3rd floor that's there on other weekends, so there's always somebody there to help out
Okay,
if
so they're
need
part of
be.
the management.
They are part of the management staff.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
they have
And
their
then in
own-
addition to that, there's like, I want to say 16 other rooms that, 3 are big enough for married couples, the split
Yeah.
room, the adjoining room I mentioned, and then a whole lot of individual rooms.
But you got someone there all the time, then,
We do.
24 hours a day. So
Yes.
if someone needs help,
Yes,
you got someone to aid them.
yes.
Call the ambulance or whatever.
Yes, and thankfully that's rare, but it does happen at times.
Yeah. But I mean, you have to have somewhat good health. and
Correct,
somewhat independent.
correct. We have no doctors and nurses. And if
Right.
people are kind of on, I'll say, wavering a little, we do have some residents that will have private health assistants come to do exercises with them or help them with medicine, measure out pills and
Yeah.
medicine for a week or for a few days and make sure they're being taken correctly. We at the retirement home, on the board and the staff, we don't do that, but there are a few residents that will hire somebody for one of those things.
Oh, okay, so the residents hire themselves.
Yes, or maybe a family member might
A family
help,
member could
help
come in
them.
and help out.
Yes. Yep.
No, really, you get older, I know when I get older, it's hard to take care of your own house.
Yeah, I'm finding that gradually too. I hate to say it.
Especially this time of year, spring, you get the spring raking and everything else and cleaning up. And, this is nice, everything's done. You don't have to worry about a thing.
Yeah, there's a couple people that will jokingly say, and I don't think they're joking, but they'll say, boy, if I had known it was this much fun, I would have moved here a long time ago. Of
The
course,
other thing is,
we're a retirement home and community, so there's an age limit of 62. So you can't move in if you're 50 or 40, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're not even over 55, you gotta be 62.
You gotta be 62 or over. Unless if you're married to a person that's 62 or over, then you can, if you're in one of
Oh,
those couple
okay.
rooms, then you can kind of get by
Oh,
at that.
okay.
I think that's the only loophole that
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
aware
you're over
of.
55 won't do that. If you're 55, but your spouse is under 55, you can't move in. You both have to be over 55.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that in our situation, one of the two has to be
Yeah.
62 or over, but that's a little higher threshold too.
Now, the other thing is, if you wanna travel, you can travel too, right? You can leave your place for a couple of weeks and come back.
You certainly could, sure. There's people that have done that.
Yeah.
Yep.
And, you know, if you got a private home, it's tough to leave it for 2 weeks because you need someone to keep an eye on it.
We've had a few people, residents at the retirement home, that have moved in and they keep their home and they haven't sold it or moved out just yet. It's almost like they're not quite ready to let go.
Wow.
And so they'll move in and they'll live at the retirement home and get their meals and do all their stuff. And then they may go back for a weekend or a couple of days to their house and check up on it. And, you know, that's rare, but that has happened a little bit.
Now, I know when you first built it back in '75, it was basically people from the church that were living there.
Yes, I think it was like parents of members of either Fairlawn or Pleasant
Yeah.
Street.
But
And those
now you-
churches are still both around and doing very well. And
Yeah.
they still have a hand in it. Like, it tends to be people from those churches as well as a few others, but I think they know that they created it and supported it back then.
Right.
They tend to be people that still support it. They volunteer. They're people on the board. Maybe their parents or their, you know, relatives are there. And some of the pastors from those two churches will come over and do like Lord's Supper or
Yeah.
communion or something every so often with anyone that wants to.
Yeah,
So the
yeah.
churches,
Gospel meeting.
yeah, they still have a hand in it.
So basically, because, well, by your name alone, you are a Christian organization.
Correct.
So, I mean, you don't find anyone who's not a Christian moving in.
You do sometimes.
Oh, I know you got.
You do.
But you're drawing
That's
them
rare
from all
too.
over, too.
That's rare. They have to understand and respect the heritage of
Yeah.
the retirement home and
Yeah.
society. But there are some people that have moved in because they like the community,
Yeah.
they like the service, they like the rent, what have you. Everything's good, and they're like, "This is a great place."
Yeah, it's like moving in. It's like being one big family.
It really is. It really is. When we had our gala event last month to celebrate the 50th anniversary, one of the speakers was a medical doctor, and he talked a little bit about community and some of the studies on community and how positive they had been. People that have community in life tend to do better, healthier, longer, higher quality of life, living longer. And a lot of that seems, or I shouldn't say a lot, but a fair amount of that seems to boil down to their happiness and their community with other people that, you know, care for them, love them, similar situation of life with them.
Well,
That counts for a lot,
As human beings, we're communal people.
very much so.
You know, we've always been that way. You go back to days of Neanderthal. We're a community-based people. We always lived in communities. When you saw Native Americans when we got here, they lived in communities. That was a standard way of doing it.
Yeah, and it's one thing that's, I think, people struggle with. It's sad. Sometimes, let's say a married couple, one will be in a nursing home or a hospital and pass away, and the other one's still left at home. And
Yeah.
then they're very, you know, I don't know, I want to say sad, withdrawn. I know this happened in my family with my parents a few years back. You know, one passed before the other, and the other one wanted to stay at home, but then they were very isolated. Like they weren't going out and doing things
Right.
with others in the same stage of life. And so a lot of people really, you know, you ask them, where do you want to be? They want to be at home. You know, they want to be at home. And I think that's just kind of ingrained because they've been there for 10 or 20 or 50 years or whatever. They've been at their home for so long. It's very hard to break that mindset and go somewhere where there's other people. But once they do, a lot of them really like it and do very, very, very well.
Well, you really got to get over your spouse has passed. You know, you've been married for a number of years and you become one, but they pass. And if you don't break away, you'll end up joining them in a cemetery because
You might be joining them even if you're still alive. You just
Yeah.
like some people will withdraw so much.
Yeah.
And that's sad. And I think that's a tough thing for people and for families because it definitely
especially if you
happens.
don't have family around.
Right.
And that's the case now. A lot of times the kids grow up and they move out because of jobs or
And they're not just moving a town away. They're moving like
Across
3
the
states
country.
away or an
Yeah.
airline flight away. You know, they're in
Yeah.
California, they're in Texas, they're, you know, somewhere pretty far.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, you know, you lose that that companionship that you had, and you can bring that back by moving in.
Yeah.
And you might even find some romances that started with,
I'm sure that happens a little bit. Yep.
yeah, could. And, yeah,
I've seen some people recently that were in a situation like that where they lost a spouse, and they were very withdrawn, sad, and they eventually moved to the retirement home, and then they're with a community of other people. So these people have all their meals together, or
Yeah.
most of them, right? Like if they want
It's
to eat in their
like a
room,
family.
it's very much like a family. If they want to eat in their room, we'll bring them their food there and
Right.
respect that. But by and large, just about all of them come down and eat breakfast together during, you know, at the same time, lunch, dinner. We have coffee and tea and snacks at 10 o'clock in the morning, and
Yeah.
something very similar at 3 in the afternoon. And, you know, and there's puzzles they do, and there's movies they watch, and they walk around together and talk together. And, you know, so it's like a big family. It really is.
You have entertainment come in as well?
Sometimes we'll have people, so a lot of the people at the retirement home really like music. So we'll have somebody
Yeah.
come and play the piano. We have a few residents that play the piano or did their whole life, and sometimes they'll
Yeah.
play for each other. But we'll have somebody come in and play the piano and do like sometimes show tunes or church songs and hymns. We'll have somebody come and do stuff outside, sing, you know, accordion music. There's all kinds of different things that we've had, and they really tend to like that a lot.
Now, you bought the house from Mrs. Mason.
After she passed away
That's
from the
from
family,
the
right,
family, yeah,
right.
her daughter Priscilla,
Yep.
'cause I knew of her. And did that come all furnished as well? They sell you the furniture, the whole bit?
Oh, that's a good question. I heard a little bit about that.
You know, you mentioned a piano. I was wondering, was her piano?
I don't think it was. I think that was one that was moved there, so that
But
they
that's a
could do.
possibility, that dining room and,
Yeah, the dining room is pretty good size because, you know, it's got close to 20 people eating in it every day. There's 3 large
Right.
tables in there, and then there's several common areas that the residents will do stuff in. That's one. That's one of the most used one. Then there's a big living room that has an old fireplace. It's got a big screen TV in it now and some other music stuff. And then there's a sunroom next to that as well.
the Whitens had large rooms because they liked to entertain.
Yeah, yeah.
So it
It's
worked
been
out.
reconfigured a little when they put the addition on it.
Yes.
But some of the rooms are still pretty big, and
You
some of the
put that-
original fireplaces are still there too, in a couple of the bedrooms. They don't
Did
get
a great
used now,
job with
but
the
they're
addition
there.
because it looks like it was just part of the house.
Yeah.
The original part of the house.
Yeah.
You couldn't tell it's an addition.
If you go to our website, so I'll show you a couple of these things just so I don't forget. But as part of our 50th anniversary, we did a program.
Yeah.
So our 50th anniversary, I had mentioned that people from the two churches first met. You mentioned Fairlawn Church. They met at
Yes.
Fairlawn. It was 1975. It was the winter. It was cold. It was January. You know, I was a little kid then. I
Yeah.
didn't live here. I lived in another state. I lived in Rhode Island, not too far away. But however, a few weeks after that, they had a couple initial meetings. In February, they organized in Massachusetts, in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. There were 6 people that formed the Whitensville Retirement Society Incorporated, and that was on Friday, February 21st, 1975. And so I will say to people, like, what were you doing 50 years ago, you know? And so, some of them weren't alive 50 years ago. And you think back of classic American stuff, like the TV show Saturday Night Live is celebrating its 50th anniversary this year, you know? And
Yeah.
there's a few other things if you dig around a little bit. But most of us were a whole lot younger back then, and things were very different. You didn't have the internet, and
No, you
you
didn't.
didn't really have cable TV then either, you know?
I remember it quite well. 75 was a tough winter.
Yeah, and it was before bicentennial, right?
Yes.
1976, it was like a
Yes.
year before that.
Yep.
And now our country is on the verge of
Yeah,
250th.
my oldest son was just a few months old in January. He was born in '74, August of '74. I lived right over here,
Okay,
and my in-laws had a duplex. We lived on one side and they lived on the other. And I remember that '75 was a tough winter. I had started a new job in '74 and was on the road. And I remember being on the road in '75. We had a lot of snow leading up to '78, which was
the
year-
blizzard of
the blizzard,
'78,
yeah.
yep, I remember that one pretty well.
So it was a tough time.
Yeah, things were very different then.
And you know, inflation was high, interest rates were high, economy wasn't doing that great.
Yep,
So all those things, Nixon had resigned.
you had the gas crisis
You had the gas crisis.
for a while there.
Yeah, like I say, inflation was out of hand. Jerry Ford had his win button, whip inflation now. I remember that quite well. And so it was a tough time. To start an organization like that was a tough time.
Yeah, somehow they did it, and
Yeah,
you know,
they went out and got a loan.
kudos to them. They got a loan. They bought the property and the house for $55,000 in 1975 dollars, and I don't think they borrowed that full amount. They went to the churches and to people and asked for donors.
Actually, though, 55,000 for that place that was a good buy.
Yeah, it was a very good buy.
Yeah,
They had some of that money donated, so the loan they took out was, you know, lower than that to get it.
yeah, because the average home back then was probably about 30,000. So and we're talking, you know, a ranch.
Yeah, let alone a mansion on a lot of
Yeah.
property.
Yeah, that was a darn good buy. Miss Priscilla Mason gave you a good deal. Yeah, because there was a lot of property involved too.
There, yeah, we have just under 10 acres there
Yeah,
now.
a developer could have took that and put a sizable housing development in.
Yeah, the 6 folks that originally started back then. So I had said that in January they met at Fairlawn, and they met one or two other times in February and decided what they were going to do. They organized into this Whitensville Retirement Society Incorporated on I was saying Friday, the 21st of February, 1975. And so when we had that 50th anniversary, right? So 1975 to 2025.
Yes.
We had it on Friday, February 21st, 50 years to the day of the incorporation. Like, I'm neglecting leap years and stuff like
Yeah.
that, but you know, 50
Yeah.
years to the day later. And we had a big, like, birthday party. A lot of people kept asking if it was a fundraiser, and we had to say, no, it's not a fundraiser. We're not asking for any money. Come and celebrate. We're having a birthday party.
Yeah.
Come and celebrate with us. And we had it over in Mendon at Grandview, which was fabulous.
Yeah.
Okay, property, the people we dealt with were
So you had a
absolutely.
You had a good turnout then.
We had over 150 people that came,
Oh.
members of the society, some of the residents of the home, some of
Yeah.
the residents of the apartments, family, friends, supporters, and it was fabulous. We had speakers. We had one of the original founders, Jake Oppenwall. His daughter was there,
Oh, I knew
and she
Jake.
spoke. Right,
Yeah.
so he was one of the 6.
Yeah.
Peter Koopman, who started Koopman Lumber.
Yeah.
They celebrated their, I think it was their 85th very recently, anniversary. Recently or coming up? I think they have something, I think it was this year, their 85th.
Yeah, well, I think they started in 1935, something like that.
Yeah. And so those two, so another fellow named Al Faber, who, of the
Oh,
6,
I know Al Faber.
of the 6, Al Faber is still with us, and I think is celebrating his 93rd birthday this month. If I'm not mistaken, it was either a few days ago or it's a few days coming up. So he came to our celebration, and we gave him a nice certificate. We gave certificates to people for the other 5 families, but we gave Al one in person. And so that was fabulous to have him there. So that was three of the 6 people, and we have a nice organizational certificate that Massachusetts gave us back in 1975, and it has these words on it and their names on it. So, we held that up and showed it to everybody.
Yeah.
Hey, we really are an organization. We really did start here on this day. And we have that hanging in one of the offices at the
You
retirement
registered
home.
with the Secretary of State.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. And then the other three of the six people, let's see, Vanderbrug was one, Fedema was one, and Wiersma was the other one. So that's just the
Oh,
last
okay.
names of those three. So that was the six altogether. And,
Okay, they did the town a real good favor, because like I said, you're talking 10 acres of land. Someone could have come in there, torn the mansion down and built a housing development,
yeah,
and we would have lost another mansion.
yep. Yep,
And that's significant, because that mansion was, we talked off the air, was where the town hall is now.
yeah, they moved it.
They moved it. They moved quite a few houses to Whitens. They were common to do that. Why waste it? They had a beautiful house, we're not gonna waste it, we'll move it up here and we'll build the town hall.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing when you look back on how all those things
And they
took
did
place.
that, well, right around the time of the Civil War. So, you think about it, that's.
Yeah,
that-
I
that
forget
is
the
a-
actual year when it was moved, but,
Yeah, well, go ahead. They built the town hall right after the Civil War.
okay.
That's why it's called Memorial Town Hall, it was a memorial to the Civil War. And they built that Eagle Monument too as a memorial to the Civil War, the one in the Common.
Okay, yep,
But anyway, to move that house at that time, didn't have any really great equipment.
right.
They
You're
do
not
it
talking
with-
backhoes and
Yeah, didn't have
flatbeds and
backhoes
stuff like
and
that. I
flatbeds. They
think
did
you
that, yeah.
probably have like oxen and horses
Yeah.
and like wooden logs that you're
Yeah.
rolling it on.
And it's
Stuff like
uphill
that.
all the way.
Yeah,
Yeah,
probably at like, 1 or 2 miles an hour for,
yeah, you gotta think of it,
for
that's
a
quite
little
a feat
while.
that they did that. They also, the place where the school administration is,
Yep.
that house was moved to there from that area as well.
Oh, they moved that one too, huh?
Yeah,
Huh,
that was not uncommon for them to move houses like that. It's when they were expanding on the mill. When they built the town hall too, at the time, the town hall was at Noppers Center, where the water tank is.
okay,
That's where the town hall was located. The original one, going back to when the town incorporated in 1772, it was the church as well as the town hall. Well, the Whitens wanted them to move down to the village. At the time, it was called South Northbridge,
South Northbridge,
Yeah.
okay.
which I hate that. I'm glad they changed it to Whitensville. They changed it to Whitensville when John Whiten died as an honor to him. But they wanted to move the town hall down there, and they built it. It took them 3 years, I think, before the town accepted it. And they were giving it to them for free,
Wow,
and heating it besides. They were heating it with steam from the White Machine Works.
oh, so it got heated for free basically too.
Yeah,
Good deal.
it was a good deal.
Really good deal.
But the town didn't want to move, but they finally gave in. But it's history is really interesting how these things take place and what they did. But like I say, saving that mansion was great because, and you've done a great thing with it.
I like to think that the people that came before us now, that started it, those six,
Yeah.
and the other, it was 50-some people that met. It was just six that incorporated,
Right.
for the state to represent them. And then every year they have an annual meeting, and ours is
Right.
coming up in another week. But they've done a tremendous thing. They helped elderly people, older people
Yeah.
have, to be cared, to be loved, to live together, in a way that that
it's
wouldn't have happened
affordable.
otherwise.
It's more affordable for them.
It is. It's cheaper than maintaining a house and paying the taxes and all the
Yeah.
upkeep, especially if you're the only one in it, in
They
many,
probably do
many
a better rate
cases.
than the nursing homes.
Yeah, yeah. And I think it's probably a lot more fun,
yeah,
more social. You have the church influence too at,
Yeah.
there. There's just been a lot of good stuff, so
but it's not like a lot of nursing homes turn into big warehouses for the elderly. This is not like that. This is just a small commune.
it's a small community, right?
Yeah.
So we're hoping to expand it
Everybody
in the
knows
future.
everybody knows everybody, and
Everybody knows if all the people that live in the home know everyone that lives in the home, and they
Yeah.
know pretty much know all the staff too, right? Because
Right.
we have people that cook on a pretty regular basis. Although we're always looking for more cooks. If anyone
Yeah.
is looking, if you love cooking, especially for a lot of people, come talk to us at the Whitensville Retirement Home. But we have people that maintain the property. We have people that clean. The residents know pretty much all the staff,
Yeah.
and they know a lot of the folks at the apartment, and vice versa too.
Right.
I doubt that every single person knows every single other person always, but most of the time everyone knows each other.
Now, you're looking to expand on the 10 acres?
We're hoping, we have some plans to put another building up sometime in the next few years.
Similar to the townhouses you have now?
Yeah, they'll be a little bigger. They'll be a lot newer. We have like an artist concept drawing, and we've been in some minor discussions about it, so it's still in the very early stages. We haven't broken ground, we haven't raised money, we haven't gotten any official plans drawn, but we're in the exploratory phase, I'd say.
Oh. But it was good that you're looking to the future and expanding.
We'd like to be able to help more people than we do now, and
Yeah.
there's a real need for housing,
Oh, very
affordable
much so.
housing for older people in
Very, very
in
much
all of
so.
Massachusetts, but in central Massachusetts
Yes.
especially. Yeah. In fact, we do these newsletters.
Yes.
Right now, we do about 2 of them a year. So this was the fall edition last year, and we have a spring edition that should be coming out very soon. But a couple issues back, we had an article about the need for affordable housing in central Massachusetts. And so if you go to our website, you can find, I think we go back about 6 or 7 of these. And one of the issues, I think it was 3 issues ago, so it was probably like a year and a half ago, had that article in it, by the president at that time,
Yeah,
was
I
a
mean-
realtor, DeVries, and he wrote a nice article about the need for housing in
Well,
central
we're talking
Massachusetts.
rents now in Northbridge, are averages between $1,500 and $2,000 a month.
Yeah, and that's for little stuff.
Yeah.
That's not even for big.
Yeah, I mean, if you're on social security, that's pretty tough.
Yeah, it's almost prohibitive.
Yeah.
So yeah, we do have a lot of stuff on there. www.whitensvilleretirement.com. You can find that article in one of the older newsletters.
I went to your website, you got a beautiful website.
Have you checked it out?
Yes,
Oh, good. Thank you.
yes, good job, whoever did your website did a great job. A lot of information.
Yeah, I think it was a group effort. Labonte Consulting helps us with that.
Oh.
They were one of our sponsors in here too. So
Now, you'll be expanding on the current area.
it's within our current footprint of the,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, just under 10
Is there a chance
acres.
that you'd be looking for property elsewhere and
I
probably expand
think
even
that's
more?
unlikely. We have enough space on our current land, on our
Mm-hmm.
current footprint, to put up another building. So we're
Yeah.
looking at where can we put it and what are the dimensions, and,
Yeah,
you know, I want 32 units and 24 seems a little more realistic, and, you know, there's a little,
Yeah.
should we have 2 levels, 3 levels? Should it be on a slab? Can we have 1 level that's partially underground and put the community room and a laundry room down there and
Oh.
then go up?
Yeah.
Smaller footprint, you know, so,
Yeah.
you know, there's different things to think about. We can't get too close to wetlands. We want to make
Right.
sure, you know, you want a road that goes around it so that in the event that the fire department has to come, they can get, you know, to all
Oh,
sides
yeah.
around it. There's different things like that that factor into the positioning and
Yeah.
the size of it, so.
well, I know, I was on the planning board for 30 years, so I know what you're talking about.
So you know some of the fun
Yes.
of the exploration.
Now, because it's elderly, would you have to put elevators in?
We would be, yes. So
Yes, so that's another thing to take into
that's an
consideration.
excellent question, actually, Harry, because right now, we don't have any elevators, although we do have, we have staircases with the chairs that move and slide along them
Right.
in both, you know, the mansion obviously never had elevators in
Right.
it. And when we put those apartments up, they weren't needed. But so we have, you know, moving chairs on the
Right.
second
Yeah,
floor and
chair
down.
lifts.
Chair lifts, multiple chair lifts
Yeah.
in the apartments. But the regulations have changed, and we would be
Right,
putting.
because at the time, that wasn't required.
Exactly,
Now you're required to make everything handicapped accessible.
Exactly. And so, yes, we are planning for those in the new building.
Yeah, so that means you're gonna have a little bit bigger building than you expect, and more cost, elevators are costly,
Yep,
but you gotta meet with today's demands.
yep, exactly.
Because, the chairlift works fine, but if you get someone in a wheelchair, that could be a problem.
Yep.
Because, you can put them in the chairlift, but someone's gotta bring the wheelchair up.
Or you keep an extra wheelchair at the top and at the
Yeah.
bottom in some
Yeah.
cases too. But you're right, there's some challenges there definitely.
But today, what the handicap laws want you to make it as possible for someone to be independent as possible. So they roll into the elevator, they roll out of the elevator, they don't need any assistance.
Yep, you have different things too, like doorway sizes have to be a
Yeah.
little
Oh, yeah.
larger and handicap parking nearby and
Yeah.
accessibility and all. I think that's good stuff, but you're right, it adds to the cost of putting up
I had that when
a
I
new.
remodeled this building for the studio. We had to have a handicap bathroom. Because I only have a small crew, I didn't have to require to have two separate bathrooms.
Yep.
I could have one bathroom, but the door was too narrow. But Dennis Latour solved my problem. He said, we'll put a second door in, make it wider, and eliminate the first door. That's what we did. And
So that worked.
Then we took the ladies' room, there was 2 stalls, took out 2 stalls, and we put 1 commode. And now you got plenty of room. All we had to do is add some lift, some handles,
Yep,
and it worked. But you gotta meet those requirements today. And we're ground level, so that was all set there.
that helps you out a little bit,
Yeah.
yeah.
But that's the problem today. But I agree, it makes sense though, because there's handicapped people that live a lot longer and are a lot more mobile than ever before, and they
Yeah.
should be able to get around.
And I mean, that's a good thing that, as long
Yeah.
as their quality of life is there, it's a good thing that
Right.
they're with us longer and that we, do what we can to accommodate them.
Yes. But like I said, I didn't know this really existed. You're kind of a quiet situation over there.
We're hidden a little bit, like, unless you went looking for it, you might not find it.
Right.
We do advertise a little bit. We have done some, I don't wanna go through all the advertisement. We've advertised a little bit,
Yeah.
but we have like waiting lists for both the home and the apartments, and if anyone's interested, go to our website, check it out, call us, we have a phone number on there, Whitensville Retirement Society, we have an office, and you'll get a person, pretty much in just about any case, you'll
Your
get a
office is
person.
in this location.
Yep, it's at 10 Chestnut Street it's one of the rooms in the mansion was converted into a small office.
Ah.
And, but you can get on the waiting list. I'd say come and take a tour, it's free to take a tour, it's free to get on the waiting list. And, if your name comes up in, a couple of months or a couple of years and you're not ready, just say, I'm not ready to go there yet, just pass by me and leave me on the waiting list,
Yeah,
No-
keep me on the waiting
No
list.
harm
When
done.
it comes open, and you get an open spot, give me a call.
That's right. So
Yeah.
that's how we do both of them. So there's a list for the home and there's a list for the apartments. Some people are on both lists. Some people will come and live at the apartments for a while, and when they feel like they don't want to cook, they don't want to clean, they're kind of tired of that, then they'll
Yeah.
move over into the same community and live in the home, as long
Right.
as there's an opening in the home. So
And in the home, everything is done for you.
right.
All your meals, all your cleaning, everything, right?
Yep, your meals are purchased, prepared, cooked, served, and cleaned up. All the laundry is done for you. All the cleaning is done for you.
And everyone has their own private bathroom.
Everyone has their own private bathroom, which is built into their bedroom. So they have a door from the hallway into their private room, which
Yeah.
they can close and lock, and and then in that private room, there's a private bathroom. So if you go on our website, there is like a floor plan that shows you how a couple of the
Oh,
rooms
okay.
are laid out. In the mansion, we tried, people before me tried to maintain, I'm gonna say, the historicity of the mansion as best as they
Right.
could. So in the original mansion, the rooms are a little different. Like each room is a little different and has a character of that time when it was built.
Oh,
And then when we built the addition onto one part of it to add, a bunch more rooms, those rooms are very identical.
the Whitens were very good when they built the house, inside, the interiors were phenomenal.
Yeah,
A lot of woodwork,
yeah, a lot of that's still there too.
yeah.
Some of the rooms that residents are living in have have fireplaces in them that used to work. They don't need them to heat the home anymore, right? So we have other forms of
Back when
heating
they
it.
built it, yeah, you
But
had to
there's
have a
still
lot
that
of-
nostalgia of some of them actually have fireplaces you can see
You had to
in
have a
them.
lot of fireplaces, that's how they heated the house.
Yeah,
But, now, you have showers in each one of the bathrooms?
yep.
Oh, so
So, one of the things we're in the process of doing is kind of doing these shower tub conversions, so
Yes.
people can have a choice, like with
oh, yeah.
you'll like cut the tub or
Yeah.
replace it so that it has like a door or something in
Yes, so
that.
you can either take a bath or you
Yeah.
can take a shower.
Yeah, so some of them are a little different as we're working our way through it,
But they work out well for elderly, you don't have to step over.
right, so it can be dangerous for them to step over, especially if
Right.
they have balance or issues like that, so we're in the process of, most of them are done, but,
Ah,
yeah,
so you're always looking ahead,
trying to.
yeah. It's amazing, like I said, for years it was considered, well, this was the Dutch retirement home, but that's not the case any longer.
It's not the case anymore. We've had people that found us either through the internet or through word of mouth or from some of the advertising. I would say that a majority of people that are there still have ties probably to the one of the two churches, but there are plenty that don't, that found us and love the place, and they'd never heard of it before until they found it, and then they loved living there, so that's
Betty
a
Davis
good
lived
thing.
up in that neighborhood. Yeah,
I heard something about that when I was going through the history of Whitensville some.
Yeah, she was, I can't remember his name now. His middle name was Oscar,
Yes.
and that's what they knew him by, Oscar. And she named the award, the Oscar.
The
after him.
Oscars, the Academy Awards.
Yeah, she named it after her husband. She said it looked like him naked. And that's where that title came, Oscar. And it was right up in that area. I'm not sure which house it was.
Yeah, I had heard something about that. I didn't know it was that close to
Yeah, it was
where
right in
we
that
are now,
neighborhood.
that it was in that neighborhood, but that's interesting, yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember his name now, but he was related to the Whitens in a way too.
I think a lot of people were related to the Whitens
Yes.
one way, or if they weren't, they wanted to be, probably.
Yeah. Well, Marston Whiten had all daughters. And that's why you don't hear the Whiten family later on, because he had all daughters.
So the name didn't really,
Well, his name disappeared,
yep,
and that's where you got the Masons, the Watsons, LaSalle,
yep,
I forgot what's the Keeler.
yeah, a lot of those kind
Yeah, he had
of
4
popular
daughters.
common names in Whitensville
Right.
community
yeah,
now.
The 4 daughters married those 4. And I was talking to one of the Whitens not too long ago. On my show, I had Harry Whiten a few weeks back. But his cousin, we had a presentation at Open Skies.
Okay,
And we did a video about the family. And one of the cousins was there, and she's telling me, one Marston did, he had his daughters marry good businessmen. Oh, Swift was the other one, yeah, so it was 5 daughters. And that's what he did, to keep the mill going, keep the shop going. But it's just amazing how they developed this town. I mean, without them, it wouldn't be the town it is.
yeah,
And, it's amazing how well the town adjusted when they were gone. When the shop got sold and they no longer did. I remember back in the 70s, I was on a town board and we were talking about they were gonna shut the heat off to the town hall. Because the shop didn't own the mill anymore, the White Machine Works.
oh, okay,
And they were still heating it with steam from the White Machine Works. They were heating it the town hall and the community center. And they said, and the new company, White Consolidated, said, hey, wait, we're not gonna pay to heat your place. And the town had to go out and buy a furnace. And things like that. The fire department, they supplied the fire department,
With heat,
everything.
everything.
They owned the building. And then when all of a sudden they said, hey, you own it. They supplied the firemen, they supplied the police department. They supplied everything. In fact, when there was a fire, if you worked at White Machine Works, if you were a fireman, it was all volunteers.
Mm-hmm.
You could leave your job to go fight
To
the
go
fire.
help, yeah.
And you wouldn't have to punch out.
Oh, they didn't even have to punch out. That's
Yeah,
pretty good.
that's how good they were to the town.
That's very good, yeah.
And, you know, like I said, they were the patriarch of the town. They did a lot of good for it, but they controlled everything too. They did what they wanted to do.
Yep. That's how you get a town named after you, I suppose.
Yeah, yeah, well, the village.
Or part of a town
Yeah,
anyway.
a village in the town. And, but that was when he died. It was a family that went to town, so we changed the village name. And I'm glad they did, because South Northbridge sounds stupid. But that's what it was
It's too
actually
long,
called.
too many words and too many syllables.
Yes, that's what it's actually
Yeah.
called.
Yeah, Whitensville.
Well, yeah, the
I still
other
hear
village-
people mispronounce it as Whitensville if they're not from around here or something.
Well,
but-
his original name was Whiting. So Whitney.
Yep,
And it was Colonel Paul Whiting that had the name, but there was another person in the nearby town that had the same name, and he ran a tavern. And he was kind of a teetotaler type and didn't like to have the same name as the person who ran a tavern, so he dropped the G off
okay.
and became Whiting. But when you look at it, people, if you're not from town, it looks to you like Whitten.
Yeah, if somebody says it that way, you know that they're not from around
Right.
here.
Yes, and I hear it all the time.
I'm sure we all have.
Yeah. But the town history is extremely interesting, and I really appreciate you keeping this place like it is, because that is something else.
Yeah, we have a couple of staff members on full time that, help maintain.
Yeah. Now, do they live there?
No, the only people that live there besides the residents are the people that help with the overnight accommodations.
Okay. Are they volunteers or?
They're staff members.
Oh, okay.
that
They're paid staff.
They're paid staff, and they may not be there at the same time, but one of the two will be there.
Oh, okay.
And in rare circumstances, like once in a blue moon, we'll have somebody else fill in for an overnight shift
Okay,
or a
so that's
weekend
not their
shift. but
residents.
They're not residents, they're staff members that
It
live
just
in,
gives them
there's
a
two
room to
special
rent.
apartments
Yeah, apartment to stay in while they're there.
while they're there, because they sleep there. I mean, they're not awake all night.
Right.
Maybe they might choose to be, but I mean, we do allow them to sleep,
Right, right. They
but
can
they're
sit-
there.
But if something happens, you can arouse them and
Yep.
they'll
Yep,
help you
knock
out.
on the door, ring their doorbell, they'll be up and ready
Right.
pretty quickly. And there's always at least one person there, including during the day, right? Either the director's there, or the cooks or the cleaner or something, but
Yeah.
they make sure that
We had
there's
the
always
director
one
on
person.
here a few weeks back.
Yeah,
Yeah, and she did a good job. We had a great show.
yep, Janine,
Yes, Janine, and Wendy came along.
yep, Wendy's on the board with me.
Oh, okay. Yeah, she's really enthused about the place. She loves it.
Yep. Yep,
And-
in fact, she was on the board one other time a few years back too, so she's
Oh.
done multiple stints.
Yeah, she came from Uxbridge.
Yep,
But like you say, you get them from all over.
yeah, and, we mentioned those two churches a few times, but people coming up for the, I had said how our annual meeting is coming up in a week, and we'll have a few new people coming on. We have some other churches that are represented in the new people. Like, I don't know which 4 of the 5 will be elected, but there are at least 2 people from, I think, Valley Chapel, and
Yeah.
another one from a church up in Worcester
Oh.
called Emmaus City, as well as the standard too. So there's a little bit of outreach, and I think that's good, because
Yes.
we don't, it's not like people are trying to like keep this a certain way. No, we
Right.
want everyone to know about it, because if
Yep.
there's somebody that could be helped by it, that could live here, or wants to visit, or wants to volunteer, or a family member or a friend or someone in your neighborhood or your church or your school, and this is a good place for them, and we have an opening, we want to help.
Yeah,
So,
come a long
the
way.
more people that we can tell, the better. We can only fit so many people, and that's why we'd like to put up one more building.
Yeah.
But we want to help the people that we can.
And what a great thing to, I'm getting shot here, but my uncle died living in his house at Postman. He lived on a Church Street. He didn't want to move out.
Yeah,
His wife had passed away. He was there all alone, but he was able to manage by himself. But he had a furnace in the cellar that he had to go down and put water in the tank every night. Didn't want to renew it.
yeah,
Well, he ended up going down the stairs one night and he couldn't get back up. Spent the night in the basement in the winter. And after that, he ended up in a nursing home, and that's
Yeah.
where he passed away. If he'd have went there, he'd probably still be, well, I don't know if he'd still be well over 100 years old now, but he would have lasted
Yeah.
a lot longer.
and that kind of goes back to what we were saying at the beginning a little bit. A lot of times, older folks, they want to stay in their home, and
Yeah.
I think there's that real tension. We want to help them, and a lot of time family want to help them, but a lot of time they're reluctant.
Yeah.
But once people come, the vast majority of people that are at our
Yeah,
place,
they say,
they're
"Why
like,
didn't I
why did I
come
come
sooner?"
here sooner? Exactly, yeah.
They say, oh my gosh, this is better than I thought it'd be.
That's what we're striving for. We have a very caring staff, and we're proud of that. We have a couple of sayings. One of them is like, we hope that people that come through these doors are blessed when they come in and blessed when they come out. We hope that we're, as an organization, like a nonprofit organization, we hope that we're a blessing to the community. So those are some of the things that we
But
strive
you
for.
offer the best of both worlds. You can have your privacy,
Yep,
or you can join everyone else.
yep.
So you go both ways, whichever way you want to go, whatever mood you're in. Yeah, you can go down for breakfast or have it brought up.
You can. Most of them will come down, but
Yeah.
if they're not feeling well or something, they'll request that it be brought to them in their room, and that's fine as well too. Yep.
Yeah. So are you looking for any kind of staff? Well, I give you a chance to.
The biggest need that we probably have is cooks. We have other people that will clean, or some that we call floaters that kind of do what's needed.
Yeah.
But like I
So
had
if you got
mentioned,
anyone's out there that's interested in cooking.
if you enjoy cooking and you want to get paid to cook for lots of people, we have to cook 21 meals a week, right? And we're not cooking for one or two people. We're cooking for almost 20
But
people
there are some people that
usually.
just love cooking.
There are some people that love cooking, and we have different shifts of cooking. I think most of the cooking shifts are usually 5 hours. Like, so we'll have an early morning shift that'll do breakfast and lunch, and then like an afternoon that'll do post lunch and dinner. And there's a couple coffee things in there too, I think I had mentioned. So, but yeah, we have shifts for that, 7 days a week. So
And you become part of the family.
you become part of the family, and we'll pay you to do it.
Yeah, they pay you to do. And you don't have to do grocery shopping, that's all taken care of.
For the most part, that's taken care of.
Yeah.
Somebody else. Either we have things shipped to us, or we have a different person on staff that'll pick up things as
Yeah.
needed. And occasionally we have a little party and get pizza, or
Yeah.
we have holiday meals too. We do Thanksgiving there, we do Christmas there,
Ah,
that kind of special cooking at times too. We celebrate birthdays there, all kinds of stuff.
okay, well, we gotta wrap it up. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you, Harry, my pleasure.
Okay. And Winesville Retirement Home, check it out. I'll tell you, it's a beautiful, beautiful building.
50 years. Check out our website. We have a bunch of newsletters with a lot of information. Happy to be part of the Whitensville community.
Okay. See you next week.